Hello and welcome to a new segment I like to call Stephen Moffat Wasn't a Bad Writer. Moffat had his fair share of writing woes during his time on Doctor Who, but he also wrote some of the best stories and gave us some of the most interesting ideas the show has ever had. Yet I constantly feel like all we ever see is negativity regarding his time on the show, and I know that even if I think my criticisms were fair, I'm guilty of it too. So just to make sure that the dialogue regarding Moffat on the internet is a bit more perfectly balanced, as all things should be, I want to start focusing on the positives. What did Moffat give us that we loved? Why exactly did we love them? Case in point, Stephen Moffat gave us the Weeping Angels all the way back in 2007 with Series 3's Blink. These creatures were powerful, mysterious and creepy to boot, with a well thought out concept and an absolutely excellent design behind them. But I believe it is this story, coupled with his Series 5 two-parter The Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone, that cemented their presence as one of the show's greatest monsters. Stephen Moffat was walking past a graveyard when he first found the inspiration to create this iconic villain, coming face to face with a Weeping Angel statue that was bizarrely cordoned off and chained up. When he eventually walked past the graveyard again, the angel had disappeared, which might not have been that weird if it wasn't for the fact that no one has any record of it existing, nor do the groundskeepers have any knowledge of it. This creepy anecdote provided the basis for the Weeping Angels in the show. They're uniquely vulnerable and invincible at the same time. The mechanic in which any living creature observing the angel causes it to turn to immovable stone deceptively makes us feel like we're in with a chance of beating it, except on the flip side, they're virtually unkillable, impossibly strong, able to alter reality.
No good, it's deadlocked the whole system.
No, deadlock.
There is now.
Break the laws of physics.
Magnetize the door. Nothing could turn that wheel now.
Yeah?
Bring total darkness, and relentlessly pursue you until you tire so much that you can only, well... Blink very much came out of nowhere when it dropped towards the latter half of Series 3. It's special for many reasons, not least of which it gave us our first truly great taste of what a Doctor-like episode is. For those of you newer to the show, Doctor-like stories were first coined in 2006 with Love and Monsters, an episode that broke the traditional format of the show by having the Doctor barely appear in it. Instead, the focus shifted to an entirely new protagonist, offering a different perspective on the Whoniverse removed from Time Lords and companions. It was a decision born out of the way filming blocks for the show were constructed, giving the leads breathing room during production, but the idea remained an excellent way to tell very different stories with Blink and later Turn Left. And that's what you'll notice first and foremost about this episode before we even know the slightest detail about the Weeping Angels. They won. They bested the Doctor and sent him back in time, stranded and unable to directly do anything to stop them. What a great way to communicate the strength of the antagonist in their very first story. It's also an excellent way to gamify a creature for the show. If you're the age I am, who can forget pretending to be a weeping angel in the playground? The inherent family value in this creature is incredibly important to the show's makeup. So if the Doctor and his companions aren't the leads, who is? If you needed proof that a woman could lead the show, look no further than the cunning, witty and effortlessly likeable Sally Sparrow, played by Carey Mulligan when she wasn't known for being Carey Mulligan. Giving a human character the reins to the story is an excellent move. Unlike in most Doctor Who stories, Sally Sparrow is on her own, and when first confronted with the possibility that these angel statues aren't all that they seem, she has to figure it out for herself. Things take a very real turn for Sally when she goes to West Drumlins with her best friend Kathy Nightingale. Whilst investigating the house where the angels lurk, they encounter a strange knock at the door, only for Sally to find out the call is from Kathy's very own grandson, tasked with delivering a message to Sally. But that can't be right, Kathy was right there. Except she's not. The Weeping Angels have taken their first on-screen victim.
The only psychopaths in the universe to kill you nicely. No mess, no fuss, they just zap you into the bars and let you live to death.
This mechanic is great, and we only get to see it explored further when the same thing befalls D.I. Billy Shipton.
Definitely gonna phone you, gorgeous girl.
Definitely better.
That is so adorable. So Billy gets tagged by another angel and Sally ends up finding him hours later, laying in a hospital bed, old and waiting to die.
Oh, look at my hands. They're all man's hands.
Whilst Kathy gets a happy ending, you get the sense that Billy never truly got over the years in the present that might have been, nor is he content with his own mortality. The angels don't just sign your death warrant, they ruin your life. If the Master is a reflection of the Doctor's genius, the Daleks his rage, then surely the Weeping Angels reflect his mastery of time and its effects. In the same way that a character like Batman or Spider-Man is complemented by their rogues gallery, the Weeping Angels exploit the Doctor's greatest power and thus allows the show to delve deeper into its central thematic. It allows us to do things like this.
Well, I can hear you.
This is impossible.
No, it's brilliant.
The Doctor leaves a message in a bottle across time, with Sally the missing piece of the puzzle to completing the transcript. A perfectly executed paradox that explains a mystery running through the entire episode.
Don't turn your back, don't look away, and don't blink.
And so we're treated to a blistering final act as the Weeping Angels descend on the house, desperate for the keys to the TARDIS. And just when you're sat there thinking it's okay, as long as they keep looking at them, the angels start screwing with the lights, something that Moffat would later capitalise on in his next story. The episode finally ends with Sally meeting the Doctor and Martha, giving them the transcript they will one day use to communicate with her. It hasn't happened for them yet. Here Moffat displays a near perfect understanding of fun, inventive but simple time travel plotting, and it's wonderful. Side note, it's also surprisingly meta before everything was meta, which is something I'd mostly forgotten about upon rewatching it for this essay. The DVD Easter eggs are a really nice device. Also, this line is great.
The angels have the phone box.
The angels have the phone box. That's my favourite. I've got that on a t-shirt.
Cut ahead to 2010, a full 3 years after their debut story, and the Weeping Angels popped up again to christen the newly regenerated 11th Doctor with his first epic two-part story, The Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone. The challenges were clear from the moment it was announced. Unlike the last story, which sat pretty without the Doctor to explain anything away and calm fears directly to the protagonist, this one would have Doctor, Companion and River front and centre. We'd seen the Weeping Angels successfully terrify, but how would they fare directly opposing the Doctor? Moffat rather brilliantly decided to go the Alien to Aliens route when writing the follow-up to Blink. Just like the 1979 horror classic about an alien called Alien was succeeded by a bigger, bolder sequel that multiplied the threat and gave us multiple aliens in Aliens, Moffat decided to scale up the threat once posed by just a few Weeping Angels to see the Doctor taking on an entire army. But of course scale doesn't equal a jump in quality, and Moffat would have to deploy a few more tricks alongside that if he wanted this story to stand out amongst the pack. Of course, there is one trick to beating the preceding Angel story that's perhaps the most important, and that's dropping in some original parrot material, going straight down your aerial! It's that guy from the streets, he's the very first thing you see. How's that for a strange cameo, eh? Bold. Bold. Remember when River asked the Doctor this?
Crash of the Byzantium, have we done that yet?
Well, now you get to experience it. The Doctor, Amy and River land outside the Crash of the Byzantium, a starliner that has been intercepted by a gun-totting group of clerics with the intent of capturing some very dangerous cargo.
There's a thing in the belly of that ship that can't ever die.
Whilst this story has its fair share of jokes,
It did make the noise.
What noise?
You know, the...
it's noticeably darker than the usual two-parters we were treated to around episodes 4 and 5 under Russell T Davies. Moffat was clearly on a mission to slap the audience awake, and he wastes no time doing so when we're treated to companion Amy Pond's first encounter with the iconic monster. After initially being shown a recording of a Weeping Angel, Amy becomes mysteriously trapped within one of the mobile containers, just as the Doctor realises
that which holds the image of an angel becomes itself an angel.
But it's too late. The recording of the angel has climbed out of the video and is coming to get her. I think what's so scary about this sequence is how it rewrites what we've come to know and expect from Who.
Good, it's deadlocked the whole system.
No, deadlock.
There is now.
Help me!
What are you doing?
Trying to cut through, it's not even warm.
There is no way in. It's not physically possible.
The angel's presence is impossible. There's no way it should be able to transmit, let alone exist in a recording. Their power borders more on fantasy horror than science fiction, meaning the Doctor with his scientific equipment and know-how is kind of useless. There's a lot of pressure with a follow-up story to a popular Doctor Who monster to reveal more about them and add lore on top of lore to keep them interesting. However, more often than not, some of these additions can greatly diminish their threat and absolves them of mystery. The catalyst for any great horror is of course always a fear of the unknown. That's why across this episode Moffat expands on their abilities while simultaneously making sure that everything we learn plunges us further into uncertainty.
And their image is their power.
The real gear shift in the story that I think takes this from an excellent romp to the beginnings of a classic story is the Aplan statue reveal. The Doctor casually mentioned earlier in the episode that the indigenous race all had two heads, but it's only when they're deep into the catacombs surrounded by statues that it dawns on the team.
The Aplans?
They've got two heads.
Yes, I get that, so?
So why don't the statues?
The Doctor then does the unthinkable. He gets everyone to turn off their torches for a split second of darkness, only to show...
Oh my god.
His hunch was exactly right. What went from one angel hunting them, a threat bad enough already, has now turned into an entire army, and they're already too far in to back out. They're surrounded. This deconstructs a sometimes overused trope in the show where the Doctor will talk total books, about something as a throwaway line to help continue the mystique of the character as a traveller with hundreds of stories we don't get to see. Half the time we're not really meant to take any notice of it and it's just doctoring dialogue, but here it's flipped on its head. We should have been paying more attention. But you can only take a silent antagonist so far if you want to sustain a relationship beyond the primal. In another masterstroke, the angels start speaking to the Doctor through one of the deceased clerics, Bob, and use him as their mouthpiece.
They stripped my cerebral cortex from my body and reanimated a version of my consciousness to communicate with you.
This was the same Bob who had earlier on been comforted by the Doctor's words, reassured only to find himself at the mercy of the monsters. The Doctor's words meant nothing.
You told me my fear would keep me alive, but I died afraid, in pain and alone.
They take the Doctor's strength in giving people hope, and they use it to berate him.
And when you've flown away in your little blue box, I'll explain that to their families.
They throw him off his focus, make him sloppy, they play mind games as well as the best of his rogues. We cap off the end of the first part with the angels all around the Doctor and his friends, with seemingly no way out except...
There's always a way out.
And, well, I would say we're treated to the first big iconic moment of Smith's tenure, but he already got treated to 2 of those, and it's only his 4th story.
Basically, run.
Seriously, Series 5 rules. Anyway, this big moment is pretty special because the Doctor uses a gun. Do you remember when everyone was freaking out about this moment in the trailer? Now, sometimes Doctor Who cliffhangers resolve themselves really poorly, like when Wilf was choking to death from poisonous gas in his own car, but it turned out all they needed to do was get him out of the car?
Don't just stand there, get him out!
But Flesh and Stone starts off with a reveal that is smart and makes perfect sense without feeling like a last-minute curveball. The Doctor fires a gun which seems to be directly out of line with his character on the surface, but in fact sums him up as best as it possibly could, playing the trickster, making you think one thing about him when he's really something else, using his wits, and above all else, being a pacifist as much as he possibly always can be. It's all set up nicely in the first part and makes for a great reveal, whilst once again showing off 11 as a Doctor worthy of the title. Textbook. Before we even get a moment to breathe, the tension racks up a notch, again, as the team becomes trapped in the entry corridor. The Doctor has to hotwire the door to get through, there's no other way, they're bottlenecked, except the angels are coming, and oh, did I mention the only way to hotwire the door is to drain the power from the lights? I mean, come on, what a brilliant moment, and Matt Smith is once again acting his socks off here.
Through the door control.
Good, fine, do it.
Including the lights, all of them. I'll need to turn out the lights.
It's here we get our first taste of Amy counting down to 0.
Why's 4 turns?
10.
No, 4. 4 turns.
Yeah, 4, I heard you.
We have no idea why at this point, and that's what makes it so chilling. Plus, we're now watching 11 deal with multiple problems at once. He's got the angels on their tail, the lights are about to go out, Amy might be about to die, and he's being scrutinised by the church at every turn. After what was 47 years of running down corridors, Moffat probably gave us one of the best, if not the very best. Moffat doesn't stop piling on little moments that help to keep the angels suitably intimidating.
Dear God.
Ah, now you're getting it.
We're constantly asking ourselves, how the hell did they do that? And it's clear that the Doctor is getting further and further out of his depth as Amy continues counting down.
Well, we've got comfy chairs, did I mention?
We have no need of comfy chairs.
I made him say comfy chairs.
I love those little moments from the Doctor in this story because it shows that even when everything is crashing around him, his number one priority is reassuring everyone around him, even if it's with a dad joke. And just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, the crack in Amy's wall reappears. It's stronger and more intimidating now, and the angels establish that it's going to power them beyond compare. After 4 years of Rusty Davies seeding in words that don't come into play until the finale,
Dr. Donner. Just like the Ood said, remember they saw it coming?
which I liked by the way, I'm not saying I didn't. How refreshing was it for the series arc plot device to just get dropped right into the middle of episode 5, in a way that makes perfect sense to both the series as a whole and the two-parter in play. I love the way he gets angry at Angel Bob's comment here.
For fun, sir.
The second he can't leverage any more information out of Angel Bob, he's done. Nod to Murray Gold here as well for a really nice creepy score that just builds as Amy is about to die before shutting her eyes. Again, the tension is perfect here. The Doctor is forced to think to his very limits to come up with a solution, River and he working like a perfect team to work it out as Amy is literally about to croak. Plus there's this exchange, which probably sums up their relationship perfectly.
Doctor! Yes, you're right. If we lie to her, she'll get all better, right?
With Amy safe, for now, the Doctor, River and Father Octavian break off from the main group to make a desperate bid for the bridge. The Doctor gives Amy a pep talk and off he goes. except he comes back to add a little bit more of a pep talk to the end of his last pep talk. Now this bit is more exclusively a comment about the series, since it has next to nothing to do with the Weeping Angels, but this isn't spoken about nearly enough. If you look closely enough, the Doctor is clearly wearing a blazer again, despite the fact that it was clearly ripped off of him moments earlier. This seems like a production error, and indeed people pointed it out as such at the time, only for it to be revealed that it's the Doctor from a different point in time in the series finale. Like, wow. Moffat was criticised a lot during his era for making stuff up as he went along, but this instance shows that when he planned things out properly, he could really make it work. I still gush about this to people who are interested in watching the show to this very day.
How can you be engaged, in a manner of speaking?
Dr. Song's in my personal custody. I released her from the storm cage containment facility 4 days ago.
Poor Jorah Mormon, he spends all those years trying to get Khaleesi's validation, and then he can't even move on to another universe without there being more strings attached. Whilst we're on the subject of Father Octavian, he goes out like an absolute unit.
Never mind the angels, there's worse here than angels.
I beg to differ, sir.
It's great seeing someone knowing they're about to die at the hands of a weeping angel as soon as the person they're talking to leaves them, and there's nothing they can do. He handles it valiantly.
I wish I'd known you better.
I think, sir, you know me at my best.
Proving this episode has some excellent supporting characters to boot. Now, if I have one criticism of this entire thing, it's that, yeah, the whole walk like you can see bit is pretty stupid.
You're gonna have to walk like you can see.
Well, what do you mean?
Man, someone should really make an entire movie out of this. Seeing the angels move as a gimmick is cool, and I actually don't mind that they don't realise she can't see with their eyes closed. I can believe that they don't know how human eyesight necessarily works, or where exactly the part of the body for seeing comes from. But then again, isn't that their whole deal? Okay. I'm torn. It doesn't ruin the story by any means, it's just a bit unnecessary, especially after we've seen them move so quickly, only for them to inch towards Amy like they can't be bothered.
Angel Bob, I presume.
The tide field is coming. It will destroy our reality.
The entire episode draws to this epic final moment. The angels are indeed unkillable, so just how is the Doctor going to outsmart them this time? What could he possibly do? The crack in time, the mysterious white light that has been claiming the clerics across the episode, as it turns out, is the perfect way to get rid of the angels.
I think they've forgotten the gravity of the situation.
The Doctor can't kill them, so he just eradicates them from ever existing instead. This is again a great way in which Moffat gives the angels a well-outlined weakness, paradoxes, without diminishing their power, mystery or terror. The idea, or should I say misdirect, that Amy can remember the fallout of such paradoxes is also expertly paid off several episodes later. But we'll get to that in another essay. Doctor Who is proud of its history, but sometimes that can get in the way. As fans of the show, we can often be obsessed with returning monsters and references to past events or expanded lore. Sometimes we can forget to enjoy new things. The fact that Moffat managed to create an entirely new monster in the revived run of the show that has universally been accepted as not just an excellent monster, but one that consistently tops best of lists, giving the franchise staple Daleks and Cybermen a run for their money, is astonishing. The Weeping Angels are a testament to original storytelling, moving canon forward with bold ideas, and making history all its own. Full Fat Videos is going to strange new places. Full Fat Videos just got upgraded, and along with that, we're upgrading our Patreon with new tiers and rewards just for you. We don't unfortunately monetize most of the videos on the channel because it has copyrighted content, so something like Patreon could really help us make Full Fat Videos self-sustaining, and it'll allow us to make better videos and better content for you. For just $1 a month, you'd be helping us out a great deal already, which is why we thank you at the end of every video. Not to mention you'd get exclusive access to Full Fat Milk Posting, a Facebook group where you can talk to us about movies, TV and games, as well as some memes. We like a bit of memes.
For $3, you'll get access to everything from the previous tiers, but you'll also get the chance to watch our videos 1 day early, as well as get access to exclusive scripts and bloopers.
For just $5 a month, you'll get access to everything from all the other tiers, as well as exclusive access to ask the questions for our monthly Q&As.
And that's not all. For just $10, you'll get access to all of the above, as well as an exclusive commentary track picked by you.
For $100, I mean, you'd be keeping the lights on, so we'd really appreciate it, and we'd probably thank you at the end of every video on camera. You'd be really helping us in any way, shape or form if you could consider contributing to our Patreon. We love making this stuff for you guys and we'd love to keep making more of it. So thank you, and thank you for watching. We're off to go make some more of that juicy content. We'll see you next time. Stay milky.